Informational,
fun,
timely,
relevant.
That's what people are saying about A to Z in real estate. 30 minutes packed with great info for home sellers, buyers, and investors. And now let's welcome your host, Lizzy Cohen.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to A to Z in real estate. I am Lizzy Cohen. This program is brought to you by Coldwell Banker Kinard Realty, located at 2650 Peerless Road, Northwest, right here in Cleveland, Tennessee. And today's topics are, the first part of the show, we're going to be talking about the MLS. What is the MLS anyway? And on our second part of the show, we'll be talking about the huge migration that we are experiencing from California into our beautiful state of Tennessee, and what the ramifications of that fact are in the real estate market. So as always, to help me with the program is my co-host, Shawn Matthews. Welcome to the show,
Welcome.
Mr. Shawn.
Welcome, Lizzy.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Happy Saturday morning to you.
Happy Saturday morning to you.
Yeah. So we've got a special guest with us today, too.
Yes,
right?
we do.
So should we go ahead and introduce her?
Absolutely. We have with us Lisa Martin. And Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
going to read to the audience a little bit about you, and then we'll get started. Lisa is the CEO of the River Counties Association of Realtors. She has been a realtor since 1999 in 3 states, and a CEO of realtor associations in 5 states, after managing a realtor office and sales team. Prior to real estate, she was a paralegal and then a casting director in Los Angeles, co-owning Cattle Call Productions, who specialized in background casting for commercials, film, television, and music videos. Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about that Cattle Call Productions.
Well,
work.
my business partner and I, who is my high school best friend, got into casting in Los Angeles as a way to try to get our screenplays sold. So we had written 5 screenplays and thought we'd meet the people to get those made. Little did we know we were way down on the food chain. So when we submitted them, they came back politely with unsolicited material not accepted. So we held on to the casting company about 10 years and discovered most of our background people were realtors, and that's actually why we made the decision to both become realtors.
That's interesting. So you migrated from the film industry, broadcast industry, into the real estate industry,
right?
Almost like by coincidence.
Yes.
You think there's such a thing?
Yeah. Well, we
coincidence?
saw people on their computers working while they were waiting for their scenes, and we asked them what they were doing. They said, "We're realtors and we're working on our deals," and we thought they must be doing better than us. So we both sold the company and both became realtors.
That is very interesting, Lisa. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about you. And you are originally from California, right?
Yes, I was born and raised in Southern California, and then met my husband in Texas and got married there and had the 2 kids, and then adopted another one, and been across the United States with my work wherever they needed a CEO. So
that's awesome. So when did you arrive in Tennessee?
January 4th, 2020.
Ooh.
Is that right? Wow. So
like the first work day in 2020, I was here.
Isn't that interesting? What do you think about that, Shawn?
Well, it is interesting. So we introduced you to COVID, right? We had a new MLS operating system going on, and she had all new people to work with.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Well, we're thrilled to have you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Blessed.
We're blessed to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I know it's the sentiment of the realtor community here in Cleveland. So because this program goes so fast, we only have 30 minutes. Let's just jump right in. And let's talk about MLS. You know, the public is very acquainted with the MLS. You hear people talking about MLS and the multi-listing service, and they do their searches online and all of that, but they don't really know the history, the background, and the real the workings within the MLS. So help us with that.
Wow, that's a loaded question. So back in the day, so the MLS actually started in the late 1800s. It was a way for farmers and landowners to exchange property legally and to keep records of it. And then by the early 1900s, when Shawn was
excuse
born,
me for interrupting. I bet you didn't know that, Shawn.
I did.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
No, that's cool.
but
Go on, Lisa.
by 1903, when Shawn was born,
Mhm.
we did start to see the migration to people sharing this information, and they literally wrote it down. And each person just kept kind of a list of what the property was and who owned it and what the price was. And then eventually it became part of the National Association of Realtors as far as policy management. And we went from just writing down some things and exchanging it to people had little index cards, and they literally kept them in their pocket, kind of the beginning of pocket listing, if you will, from a long time ago.
Interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
And then
fascinating.
it migrated through the years to where they were ledger sheets that we gave out. Then it went to books.
Oh, I remember the famous books. I
Yes.
got to see a couple of those during real
Yeah.
estate
And
school.
if any of your viewers remember, that's how a realtor showed them property. We just had books and had one exterior black and white picture.
Right.
And it was awful.
It was
you couldn't
grainy.
tell anything
Yeah.
about it.
That's right. That's
so,
right.
and then came databasing. And so we were able to put the information into databases and get floppy disks
Mhm.
out to the offices. And that's how you had your data. And
Wow.
then finally, as everything migrated, then the internet. And from that point, then the data was open, if you will. And that's where you got to third-party syndicates.
That's fascinating, Lisa. I can't help but think I have children, and they're the four of them. They're millennials, and I keep telling them, you guys have no idea how sweet you have it in your careers. And for those young people in our audience, the millennials and younger people that never saw one of those books,
Yeah.
and they really, I hope that they can appreciate the evolution of the technology and the ease with which they can work
Right.
and obtain just sophisticated data,
Mm-hmm.
in-depth data of properties, history, listings,
Yes.
and in CRS, public records information right there at your fingertips.
Right.
But it wasn't like that the whole time.
Oh, absolutely not. And that migration to technology comes twofold. Those third-party syndicates and what they do with that data, we also have to try to manage, because oftentimes what the consumer sees may not be perfectly represented and accurate. And that's what we see that's troublesome for the consumer these days is that data accurately being represented on third-party sites where I direct consumers back to realtors, because the MLS the realtors manage is that accurate data.
Yeah, and that is worth dwelling in for a few minutes, because we really don't want to mention any particular names. We're referring to these giants of data as third-party vendors.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is the public doesn't know that these third-party vendors that offer information on properties nationwide, they really are not working to help the public, if you will. They really are working to get leads, to sell those leads to us,
Correct.
realtors, to real estate agents.
Right.
So their real business model is, getting information that may or may not be accurate. And most of the time, it's not accurate. How many times you've had people calling and say, I saw this property on X, Y, and Z, third-party vendor.
Right.
Can you find out if it's still available? I want to go see it.
Right.
And
we're
literally,
not,
that
Yeah.
property is long gone. It's not even on the market anymore. Or
exactly. And what I would say is, go to the source. If you want to find out about real estate, go to one of the actual, sites of the realtors, that are providing the data. We have the greatest up-to-minute data, out there. The syndications do get watered down. We find, sometimes decimal points get moved. It says 1.21 acres, and it might get syndicated as 121 acres. So we get a lot of calls on that property.
Exactly.
And we have to tell them, oh, by the way, it's only an acre,
right,
with it.
right.
And third-party vendors can also do things I can't do. Ethically, we can't say that, this house is a pre-foreclosure. I can't drive by a house with tall grass and say, hey, I think they're going to sell, and this is what I think it's going to sell for. But some of the third parties could do that. And it
Right.
really watered down, what the consumer was seeing and what we were providing. There was a
Absolutely.
huge disconnect.
Yeah, there is, and I'm glad we're talking about this because we need to educate the public that even though it sounds self-serving, like, oh yeah, here's 3 realtors talking about, yeah, call a
MLS.
realtor, and but it's true. The reality is, if the person out there really wants to get accurate information on a property that is reliable, they need to go to the source,
Right.
and that source is hands down is a real estate professional,
Sure.
is a realtor.
So we have coldwellbanker.com. Somebody could just type in there the city, the zip code, how much they want to ask, what they're looking for, and it's going to pop up an accurate list, of what's available.
Exactly.
And all all brokers in our system have the same, type system, but the third parties are taking our data and presenting it to try to catch the consumer's eye, so they may be capturing it in a different light than we might.
Exactly. And like Lisa and I were talking previously this morning, I mean, their real interest is not, they're not motivated the way we are to provide accurate information because we depend on it. Our, if a house is 2,000 square feet, we are going to tell that consumer it is 2,000 square feet. Third party vendor out there, it doesn't make a difference for them. They're going to get that lead anyway, and they're going to sell it.
The real disservice to the consumer is that the associations that provide the data to the third-party syndicators are giving it to them in nearly real time. But they have never had the motivation, as you said, to update it. Because the more properties that they have, the more the consumers think they're the king of property knowledge. And so it benefits them to keep things in there, even if they're sold for the numbers. And that's what I think is such a disservice to the consumer, because they get on there, they feel empowered that the data's there. Then they do call a real estate professional, a realtor, and find out these properties aren't available. And they tend to think the realtor is the problem. And I get calls at the association and I have to explain, this is the lack of accountability from those third-party vendors because they're in the advertising business. They're not in property.
Good way to put it.
That's a great way to put it, is the advertising business. And what about the estimates that they come up with based on sheer numbers, not based on condition of the properties? And, a study such as the studies that we do on the local market, comparative market analysis, to come up with fair market value. So what about that? People get misled all the time with those
estimates. Use AI technology, and they're trying to aggregate data and do that through artificial intelligence. And what do we know about buying and selling property? It's a personal relationship. It requires a professional like the two of you to be there and to make these calculations based on your experience. So AI is great because it's fast and quick and the consumer thinks they can get information, but it's not accurate because you have to be there to determine these things. So,
and as we always say, real estate is local.
Right.
And will always be local. Of course, there is a overall picture in real estate based on the economy of the country and other factors. But when it comes to pricing, fair market value, it is very local. And we also use the term hyper local.
Definitely.
It's a subdivision right here might be within the same city with the same county, but that subdivision is just next door to a huge development, and that is affecting the prices and so forth, which may not be the case of the subdivision 2 blocks down, and we're going to see a difference in prices over there. So there's no artificial intelligence, and I have nothing against artificial intelligence, but there's nothing intelligent artificially that can replace that human analysis that we bring to the table.
Yep.
So
and we see it, if there's a crawl space that has water underneath it, that has a different value for that home. And we're not selling homes by the pound, so,
Exactly.
driveways can be, very, very vertical and challenging. One side of the street can be very different than the other side of the street. They could
Exactly.
require basement lots and flood insurance, and the other side is up on top of a ridge. So, it is local. It is something that takes some investigation. We use that artificial intelligence to, statistically collect what's happened, but then we use our personal, preview of that property.
We have
and
to.
then we, come up with a collaborative price, that gives us market value.
Absolutely. So hopefully the public is taking note. and yeah, we're here. By the way, we give free consultations to the public, and if they have questions or they're thinking about buying or selling, they can call us. And please do text, call, email, and we'll give you an hour of free consultation to give you a picture of what your particular situation is, how much money you can sell your house for, or let's study your finances with a mortgage lender and see how much house you can afford. That in a nutshell. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Nancy Collins is a branch manager at Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Her goal is to help you find the right financing options to fit your unique needs. Contact her today at 706-280-9763 to learn more. Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS number 2289, is an equal housing opportunity lender. LO NMLS number 195344. This is not an offer to enter into an agreement. Not all customers will qualify. Georgia Resident Mortgage Licensee number 21158. Branch location 307 West Emory Street, Unit C, Dalton, Georgia 30720.
Spring is the favorite season for many people. Flowers in bloom, bright and beautiful colors everywhere, the sounds of birds chirping in the air, in the nice cool climate, energizing most people to enjoy the outdoors. But the beauty of spring also comes with pollen in the air. Many people struggle with allergies, constant coughing, and the like. But thankfully, we can fight back. A simple vapor bath or inhaling the steam from boiling water for about 5 minutes will clear your nose and throat and give you the relief that you need. If you can, add a few drops of essential oil of peppermint, rosemary, or mint, and the effect will be long-lasting. Don't let the pollen in the air ruin your enjoyment of God's creation during the spring. This segment was brought to you by Coldwell Banker Kinard Cares. Welcome back to A to Z in Real Estate. Lizzy Cohen here, and in the studio with me is Shawn Matthews and Lisa Martin from the River Counties Association of Realtors. And the first part of the program, we were talking about the MLS and some of the notions that people have out there about the third-party aggregates that provide advertising services more than anything else. But we're going to have to switch gears here, and we're going to talk about something that is of concern to the real estate community, and that is that huge migration of people that we're experiencing, particularly from California into Tennessee. And of course, we are, the volunteer state. We're very hospitable people. We love people from any state. But we're seeing some ramifications, aren't we, of this gigantic migration of people fleeing a state that is just overloaded with taxes. The cost of living is prohibitive. People can't afford living in California anymore. So they're just migrating by the droves. Where? Of course, they're going to come here to Tennessee, tax-free. And it's beautiful. The weather is perfect. Great Tennesseans, personalities, and all of that. So, but what's going on in the housing industry as a result? That's what we're going to talk about. So, Shawn, give us your take on how this migration is affecting us right now.
Well, we've got a limited supply of inventory, right? So if somebody comes out of the West Coast and they sold a house for $750,000 and they come here, and they can get that same house for $350,000.
Exactly.
They're excited, right? And
they're elated.
They're elated, and they might be in a situation with multiple bids. So they may be in the winning position, right? They might have a cash offer. They might put an escalation clause in because they really want this home. It's a gift, it's half price of what they paid. Taxes are a quarter of what they were paying. So, it squeezes our local buyers a little bit. The people that are here, renting a house and they want to buy a house, they're qualified. They're up against those buyers, right? So that's the people that they're competing with. So that's one of the things that we see, on a daily basis in our office. There's stacks of contracts written sometimes before we get that one deal through for the people, right?
Yeah,
so that's one of the things I see.
Another thing we're seeing, Lisa, is those the demand is out off the charts, and the supply is very low. So every time a property comes on the market, of course, there's a flood of people that want to go see it. So we're seeing the 15-minute appointment times around the clock. And then, of course, after that, after a day or two, the flood of offers.
Right.
In that bidding war that we call it, it's on one hand, it's a delight for the seller, and those of us that on a given transaction are working for the seller, it's nice. But if you're working with the buyer and you're trying to help this young couple, he's a teacher, she is a nurse, and they qualified for the $250,000 home, and they're all great. We're giving a great offer, full price, and we're going to close in 1 month, and we're ready to go. And before you know it, someone from California comes with cash and say, by the way, I'm going to pay $10,000 more than the asking price.
Right. And we're not just going to pick on California today. This weekend was Florida. I had some folks come up from Florida. Colorado was really big 2 years ago. So, they've found our area. So that's one of the things, I moved up from Florida, 8 years ago, and it was a different market. It was the end of the Depression, and I had my pick, of houses at that time. So, we saw it very differently at that time. We never saw this coming, so, but again, we're trying to, we talked last week on the show with David Sanders, we talked about how do we correct this? Well, we can't, right?
Well, it's tough. Lisa and I were talking this morning again that, if you're a seller,
now's the time.
The seller is going to say, well, why not take that offer it's going to put in my pocket $50,000 more than the asking price? What is your argument? So what would you tell a seller?
Well, first of all, the wave, the Pacific wave, no pun intended.
Yeah.
People sometimes don't understand, not only is it the value of the homes they're selling that gives them all that cash, they also escape things like mellow roost taxes and high HOA fees on the West Coast that you don't see here. And so not only are they getting that property for such a great value, they also don't have those additional things that they're having to pay. But then what is happening and what we're seeing in the market and what's happening on the West Coast is they're waiving appraisals. They're waiving inspections. They're waiving, they're saying no loans,
no contingencies whatsoever.
Right.
And only bring me cash. And so that is affecting our market directly. And then it does affect those first-time home buyers or anybody that's looking at a loan product. And so what the sellers, in my opinion, are missing is we have some fair housing concerns that we need to understand about refusing certain types of lending products. And that is starting to trend across the United States, that there's litigation. Why are you taking $100,000 over asking price and keeping these people from purchasing? And then also the effect of these 100,000, because we're seeing 100 and 150,000 over asking.
That's
no
unheard of.
appraisal.
Yeah, that is
because of the
unheard.
cash.
Yeah.
But it's going to affect your future markets. And when these people go to sell, who's going to buy them? Because no one can qualify for the loans then in 5 to 10 years for these huge overvalued properties that they paid cash for. So to me, that's your danger in the future.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel that we realtors are in the middle of that problem, because on one end, we're working with sellers who want the more money in their pockets, right? And on the other hand, we're working with the buyers who are scrambling to put the strongest offer, competing against people with truckloads of money, cash, willing to waive all contingencies. So it really is a real problem, and we need to see this problem with a overall picture of the future and how that's affecting especially the young people, the young couple that is dreaming to get into their first time home and start accumulating equity. How is that going to happen if we keep going at this rate? And I tell you, I'm going to give you a breath of fresh air that I experienced just last week. I had a buyer from Colorado. Now, I'm not picking on California.
No.
It's from Colorado.
We've moved
and
over.
Of course, and Shawn, they wanted this house.
Right.
And the first thing they said when I showed this beautiful home to them was, wow. They couldn't believe that they would pay a third of what they pay for a house just like that here in Colorado. So then they say, well, so how much over do we have to offer in order to get it? We want it. And I said, hold on just a minute. Let me talk to the listing agent. And I called the listing agent, and it was a breath of fresh air. She told me, you know what, this house is priced at fair market value. It's going to appraise at this level. We don't need to start a bidding war. The seller will be happy with a full price offer. And that was a breath of fresh air. She said, if you want, you can put an escalation clause. You can offer a little more above the highest, but we're not very interested in bloated offers. I could not believe my ears.
Right. But you also said that when you communicated that, there was something that was more important, was time. They wanted a little bit more time to close, and your folks were willing to do that. So a lot of times we're reaching out. You can, find out, what's their hot button. It's not always money, right? So a good agent will do that and follow through and find out. And we are, when we're working for the seller, we're trying to get that strongest offer. But a lot of times the sellers, they're looking at they're motivated by a timeline or appliances or things like that. So we do have to scratch that surface and find out what it is.
Yeah, it's true. And it's just there's no easy answer really in this dilemma, because the seller on this side of the transaction is making more money than really they should. That's the reality. But he's going to turn around and be a buyer, right? Because he has to go somewhere. That's the problem, right? So it's interesting, and we would love to hear the comments of our colleagues on our Facebook page, A to Z in Real Estate, and see what you guys think out there. What kind of solutions we can bring to the table,
right?
Because it is a problem. We have to look at this long term. What's going to happen when this shifts, and then people are going to end up owning homes that are less valuable than what they owe on them.
Right.
We don't want our young people, we don't want anybody to end up in that situation, right? We want people to, the very point of getting a house is that buildup of equity.
Yes.
Right. So anyway, we're going to take another break, and we will be right back. 2025 Hawk Street in Southeast Cleveland is a charming 3-bedroom, 2-bath, partial brick ranch, completely renovated. The open concept living is adorned with new columns, flooring, and paint throughout. Spotless stainless steel appliances and the new heating and cooling system are only a few of its fabulous features, including a free home warranty. Enjoy the manicured landscaping, the wood-burning fireplace, and the large outbuilding, perfect for storage. To schedule a private showing, call Dave Sanders at 423-290-6827. Built in 2004, this beautiful log cabin on 1081 Lower River Road will weather any storm. Nestled on a secluded 2.3 acres, this home features 6,390 square feet of finished living space and 2,000 square feet of unfinished basement with a second garage. With 3 bedrooms and 3.5 baths on the main level and 2 bonus rooms on the second level, this home will mark the end of your search. To schedule a private showing, call Pat McGowan at 423-650-2595. Welcome back to A to Z in Real Estate. It's time to wrap up, and so I'm going to throw it to Shawn. He's going to announce the winner of our giveaways last week.
Sure. So we had two drawings. We had the Lowe's gift card that went to John Colatuni. He won the gift card, and then the Lookouts tickets went to Cody Morris. So congratulations to those winners. Tune in next week, and we'll see if we can scrape up some more prizes.
Absolutely. And Lisa, thank you so much for being with us today. We're going to bring you over again so we can continue this interesting conversation. And to our audience, thank you so much for being with us today, and we will be seeing you next Saturday. God bless you all.
Nancy Collins is a branch manager at Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Her goal is to help you find the right financing options to fit your unique needs. Contact her today at 706-280-9763 to learn more. Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS number 2289, is an equal housing opportunity lender. LO NMLS number 195344. This is not an offer to enter into an agreement. Not all customers will qualify. Georgia Resident Mortgage Licensee number 21158. Branch location 307 West Emory Street, Unit C, Dalton, Georgia 30720.
Have you seen the new Coldwell Banker North Star signs? Coldwell Banker Kinard Realty has been serving the East Tennessee and North Georgia area since 1974, with 5 offices in Cleveland, Tennessee, Dalton, Ringgold, Cartersville, and Calhoun, Georgia. With the latest technology, CBKR's 145 licensed agents are ready to serve all your real estate needs. Call today, 423-476-5532. They offer residential, commercial, and land and property management. Call and speak to one of their licensed professionals today.